Hey there everyone, and welcome. This is your host Pogawiggy, and today we're going to talk about the 5 weapons that the devs need to add to Mordhau. This first weapon is one that a lot of people have been wanting since they first seen Mordhau, and that's the good old flail. If you aren't aware, a flail is a bludgeoning weapon that consists of a heavy mass attached to a handle by chain or some other flexible material. In real life, the flail was not very widespread and rarely used in war. They were most likely used as dueling weapons, but yet again, probably not very often. This is because the flail poses as much risk to the user as the target, if they make a mistake, so it's clear why it wasn't so widespread. The flail would make for a very interesting weapon in Mordhau, with numerous different ways to implement it. Most obviously, one could see it as a way to attack around someone's parry, or shield. However, this would require extensive balancing, so that the weapon doesn't become too OP. The way I envision the flail in Mordhau would be to make it so it can attack around a parry or a shield for a small amount of damage, but make chambering a great counter to the flail. In essence, I can see the flail killing somebody in about 4 to 6 hits on full armor, depending on where you hit them when you're bypassing their parry or a shield, but making it a powerhouse with similar stats to the mace for when you land a normal hit. That is, 2 to 4 shots for a kill. I believe chambering could be used to balance this mechanic of the flail against other weapons. This could be done by making chambers on the flail drain significant stamina. I'm talking a disarm in about 3 to 4 hits, a lot like the sledgehammer. This would put the flail in an interesting spot in the game, for learning its skill curve while also preventing it from being too OP. If done correctly, the developers could expand off this model to add other flail-like weapons, like the whip sword, for example, into the game. Since I'm a lover of polearms, mostly because they're long and hard, I really want the glaive to be added to Mordhau. For the most part, Mordhau has a great lineup of polearms, but I feel as though the glaive could add a little bit more variety to the polearms in the game. My initial idea as to how the glaive could function in game is to make it about the same length as the halberd's alternate attack, while decreasing the attack damage, but increasing its slashing attack speed. This would put it on par with the poleaxe in terms of attacking speed, but without the crazy warhammer alternate attack. For the most part, I feel as though the polearms in the game are really slow, so for me, this would be a great way to change up the polearm meta. A few balancing issues would have to be accounted for, however. For example, the glaive shouldn't attack faster, nor should it do more damage than the longsword, but perhaps the devs could treat it like a slow arming sword on the end of a stick. This next weapon is for good old Eladon. The devs have tormented this poor boy's soul for far too long, and now it's about time they added the two-handed warhammer to satiate his desires. I know they already have a maul and a one-handed warhammer, but I feel like a two-handed warhammer could bridge the gap between these two weapons. Sure, you have a poleaxe that functions similarly to how the two-handed warhammer would be, but it's more like a polearm in the game, even with its hammer alternate attack. You also have the mace and evening star as decent bludgeoning weapons that are sort of in between the warhammer and the maul, but they're both rather slow. To make things interesting, the two-handed warhammer could be fast like the poleaxe, but shorter reach. I think 2 to 3 hit kills would be perfect, if its speed was just slightly slower than that of the longsword. The next weapon that I think would be great to see in Mordhau is the katana. Admittedly, almost all the weapons in the game are of European origin, but if they added some Asian variety, I think it would make the game a little bit better. The katana would be much like a combination between a bastard sword and a rapier. It would have weaker stabs and slashes than the bastard sword, but stronger slashes than the rapier. Its attacking speed would be somewhat in between that of the rapier and the longsword, but much quicker, along the lines of the rapier. My last idea for weapons that they should add to Mordhau is actually a combination of several weapons. One of the many interesting aspects of the game is map-specific weapons that you can find. For example, you can find an epic-looking spear on camp near the red spawn, or you can find the sledgehammer on the ground in contraband. I think they should add some more interesting novelty and map-specific weapons to the game, particularly ones that you can't spawn with. I think the concept of map-specific emplacements like the mortar is neat, but imagine if there was a good old-fashioned boomstick from Evil Dead right there in the middle of the map, just to make things a little bit more interesting. If the devs aren't interested in breaking the immersion of the game for something silly like that, they could always add some of the weapons that I've already mentioned above as map-based specific weapons. I don't think any of these weapons should be too OP that they use as map-specific weapons, but they should be good enough for people to want to use them. Well, that's it for this video, everyone. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this video, please go ahead and subscribe, like, and comment for more great content just like this. Thanks again so much for watching, everyone, and I hope to see you all in the next video.